Hi, welcome to the online part of the Reflecting on Practice coaching workshop. This is Lynn, and Catherine and I are looking forward to reconnecting with all of you. It's coming up on a week since we first met, but that was a really full day and followed by a really full conference. And so we decided to make this flashback video to help with some of the memory recall. Okay? So let's take a walk down memory lane. Hopefully the memory trail hasn't overgrown too much. That's Catherine and me, and we all met at the Aztec 2018 conference in Hartford, Connecticut that was hosted by the Connecticut Science Center. We gathered to engage in reflecting on practice. There's a lot more information about the program and explanation about the coaching workshop in this module that you can explore at your leisure. So I won't go into the details of those in this flashback video. Just go ahead and browse through the module. Okay. This is a Reflecting on Practice coaching workshop, which Catherine and I think of as the beginning of a learning journey for RoP facilitators. And that's what you're all working to become so that you can lead the program at your own institutions. You are currently in the red circle. By the end of the coaching workshop, you'll get to be implementing RoP at your institution, and that's the yellow circle. And hopefully, over time, you'll get to the blue part where you integrate the ideas and routines from reflecting on practice into your own practice, as well as into your institution's way of doing things. Throughout the coaching workshop, whether it's blended or all in person, we ask participants to be the learner. So you're experiencing RoP and you're making connections both with the ideas pulled forth and with one another. When we were in Connecticut, we asked you to do these particular things, and particularly getting to know each other, because this is what we're going to be leveraging on when we get to the online portion, which is what we're about to start now. Okay, so this is what we're going to be doing, asking you to be participating so that we can become a learning community. By now you're wondering, oh my gosh, what did we talk about in Connecticut? That conferences are wonderful, but they can be so overwhelming with all the ideas and conversations and activities happening in a short amount of time. And that's the point of this flashback video, to bring up some of those memories just as we're about to begin our online conversations. So let's begin. One of our very first conversations was a thought swap, where you stood in two lines facing one another and talked about these 4 topics. This photo was taken during a coaching workshop conducted at the South Carolina Aquarium. Catherine and I were so busy leading the activities and discussions with you that we weren't so great with taking photos, and we always forget about taking photos. But lucky for us, RoP has been adopted by many institutions around the US, and our RoP leaders who are also leading coaching workshops do a wonderful job photo documenting their experiences. The workshops that our leaders offer are all in person over 2 or 3 days, and so we'll share photos from those workshops to help jog your memories as well, and help you know that there are many others experiencing these activities and discussions all across the field. Right? So this was a thought swap, launched us into Module 1, the objectives of which were for you to identify and discuss your beliefs, behaviors, and goals for learning. We had you do a quick writing task to the question, how do people learn? And we asked you to jot down 3 words that come to mind, 2 questions you have, and 1 metaphor or analogy that captures how you think people learn. You should know where you've placed those scribbles because we'll come back to them at some point during an online meeting. If you lost your initial thoughts, that's okay. Now is a perfectly great time to do them. Just pause the video and write down 3 words, 2 questions, and an analogy. Here's the definition of the analogy and metaphor if you need it. All right, so then we continued the morning with our first hands-on activity, cup and card. Doesn't she look like she's having fun? Gosh, who doesn't have fun playing with water? We gave you a variety of containers and asked you to fill the container with water, place a card over the top, and you were to invert the container and observe what happened. We asked that you use that experience as a common reference point to talk about learning. Right? So this is all of you exploring the cup and card task, and definitely very engaged and impressed by how you could hold the water or not. And as that common reference point, you talked about what did you learn and how did you learn it? When did the learning occur? And how did you know you were learning? And very interesting ideas about learning came out from your conversation. And we built on those ideas that you shared with then a walkabout. This was our first research discussion where we offered the 5 foundational ideas on learning, and you walked around the room writing down your own thoughts and beliefs and experiences and reactions to these 5 foundational ideas. These are the ideas that you wrote down, and these 5 foundational ideas on learning serve as a framework to organize our thinking on learning in the Reflecting on Practice program. And you'll be able to, if you've lost your page or want to get a clean copy, you should be able to do that in the online module itself, in the Canvas, I mean. To close out the morning conversations, we mentally took you to the South Pacific and tasked you to think about what excited you about the morning activities. We asked you to think about someone who you would like to tell about your experiences. Well, did you tell them? If not, don't forget to do it. In the afternoon, we transitioned into the first session of Module 2, which digs deeper into how people learn. We did another hands-on activity this time, exploring the phases of the moon. Catherine asked you to recall the times you've seen the moon and then asked you to consider what causes the phases of the moon. After that, we turned off the light and she invited you to play with shadows. And through a combination of guided discovery and free exploration, you built knowledge about the phases of the moon as a community. And these were the 4 ideas you built. When we reflected on the experience as a whole, both from the learner and the facilitator's perspectives, you called out a variety of things that you were doing to learn and things that Catherine did to help you learn. And these list of strategies are a synthesis of some of the things that you called out, and it's actually a pretty good list. Now that you were primed, we had another research discussion, this time with a lot more information from the research literature, not just drawing on your personal beliefs and experiences. Yes, we gave you a heavy reading after lunch, and you all rose to the challenge. Here, the task was to draw meaning and connections from the research literature and consider how to use them in your practice. Because there was a lot of information, we jigsawed the content. With 3 big topics, you sorted into 2 groups, and within the groups, you paired or tripled up with someone, and each set of partners read a topic. There was a lot to read and process fairly quickly, but you weren't processing it alone. You talked with your reading partners to figure out what the ideas meant, then reported out in your group. Together, your group looked for connections between the ideas and discussed the implications for practice. We didn't take group notes, but many of you scribbled ideas into your own notebooks. So pause the video and review your notes to help you recall the conversation and what you were thinking at that time. What is the one takeaway for practice that you'd like to draw a big circle around now? You'll be revisiting this reading in preparation for our online meeting. Here's a brief summary for that research discussion. Okay, and check out the summary learning page in this module in Canvas for more information, including where to download the 5 foundational ideas on learning. So after this discussion, there was another opportunity to travel mentally to another tropical location, this time to the Caribbean. And thank you, Jared, for pointing out the looming storm coming our way in this photo. Induced by that anxiety of being caught in a tropical storm, what did you write down? Who did you share your experiences with? After a short break, we did our last activity of the day. Yeah, it was a really full day. There was a reason why your brain was so tired after hanging out with us. We started into the first session of Module 3, though we only did the initial discussion and the hands-on activity. We did not do the research discussion. The hands-on activity was the role play, the purpose of which was to examine and compare 3 educator-facilitated conversations and discuss the limitations and potentials of each. While it's tempting to say and describe skit 1 as bad and skit 3 as good, lingering on good and bad is not particularly helpful for changing practice. Instead, we analyze what was going on, what the educator was saying and what the learners were saying, to look for the limitations and potentials of the actions, because they served different teaching purposes. Okay? So we used a program format commonly occurring in informal learning environments, the card of artifacts or the activity card. And we focused the skits on sea otters and then gave you skits to stay in character. We had very interesting discussions analyzing the skits. Right? Check out the summary learning conversations page in this module on Canvas as well for more information about them. Here are the notes that we wrote down from your discussion and analysis of the 3 skits. You examined what the educator and learner said, seeking evidence from the scripts themselves, and then identified the teaching purpose for each skit. We'll come back to these ideas some more in one of our online meetings. Our one day was plenty long and full enough by then. But before we left, we had you write down some closing thoughts. And hopefully you can find those notes as well. And if you're not, that's okay. Pause this video and write down some thoughts for yourself now. This PowerPoint slide deck can be downloaded so you can look through the slides without my voice ringing in your ear. Please look through the rest of the materials in this module to remind you of all the things that we did and talked about. And there are 2 online tasks that you should do prior to our first online meeting. Okay, so both tasks require you to make a video, one to share with everyone, and one that's viewed by Catherine and me only. If you have questions about any of these tasks, please reach out and email us. We're looking forward to seeing all of you again.